Want to know whether to pursue an LLM degree? Curious as to whether it will help you land a job? Today I provide you with 6 factors to consider before you make a decision. Also, stay to the end to learn how to properly abbreviate LLM, which can be tricky if you don't know Latin. Hi, this is Professor Bo Buds. Every year my students ask me whether they should pursue an LLM degree. An LLM, which in Latin is Legum Magister, translated Master of Laws, is a program that can be completed over 2 semesters and allows someone with a JD or LLB to specialize in a specific area of law. Historically in the United States and currently in Great Britain and many Commonwealth countries, someone first earned the LLB, the Bachelor of Laws, then an LLM, a Master of Laws, and if they continued on, the LLD, or Doctor of Laws. Today we call the LLB a JD in the United States, which is why you have a master's degree after the Juris Doctor. Inward, outward, upward. Today let's look at outward changes that might propel you upwards. Unfortunately, many people earn an LLM without a clear idea of what they want to do with the additional education. For a number of years, I used to take the train into Washington, D.C. During that time, I met many lawyers with the LLM. Interestingly, few of those lawyers were using their LLM degrees, and they all told me the same story. They didn't know what to do after law school, so they stayed 1 more year and earned an LLM. Specializations. There are many different LLM specializations, including admiralty, environmental, business law, taxation, security, space law, fashion law, and dozens more. Though there are many different specialties, the only one that is basically required to get a job is tax. As of the time of this recording, 41 law schools in the U.S. offer the tax LLM. That's 1/5 of all American law schools. When I graduated from law school, I tried to get into the tax field with my JD and couldn't find a job. That's why I got my LLM in tax, which helped me find my first job and has helped me as a law professor. To give you some perspective, when I was hiring for a tax job, I received nearly 100 resumes from people with the tax LLM. With that kind of response for one entry-level job, I ignored those without the LLM. As to other LLM specialties, you generally don't need the LLM. The JD is usually enough to get a job in those fields. While there is a slight advantage to having an LLM in some areas, it might not open many doors for you. So don't expect the LLM to be your ticket to a great job. It might help, but it also might not do anything for you. Foreign lawyers. In addition to those wanting to get into tax, a second group of people that might benefit from an LLM are lawyers from other countries. This is because some of our 50 states allow foreign lawyers to sit for the bar exam in that state if they earn an LLM from an ABA accredited law school. If you're thinking about this path, keep in mind that most American law firms are not interested in hiring foreign lawyers. Also, it might be difficult to stay in the United States after earning an LLM, though having the credential might help you in your home country. Prestige. Those who graduate from lower-ranked law schools sometimes want an LLM from a higher-ranked law school in an attempt to upgrade their JD alma mater. While it's nice to get an LLM from an elite law school like Yale or Georgetown, that doesn't mean it will be any easier to find a job. That's because LLM programs are much easier to get into than JD programs. Law schools don't have to report who they admit into their LLM programs, so the selection process is much less intense than JD admissions. Economics. LLM programs are viewed as significant revenue generators for law schools. That's because law schools almost always use adjuncts to teach the courses, and they can offer the classes at times that don't interfere with their JD courses. Now, don't get me wrong, many adjuncts are great teachers with real-world experience. When I studied at Georgetown for my LLM, several of my adjunct professors held high government positions. I was privileged and honored to be in their classes. So don't expect to take classes from the full-time faculty. Employer funded. It also makes sense to get an LLM when your employer pays the tuition. A number of my LLM classmates did this, though it took them about 4 years of part-time classes to complete the degree. So if you can convince your employer to fund your education, go for it. Online programs. There are now over 100 LLM programs that you can complete completely online. And if you want, there are also LLM programs in many countries around the world, English-speaking countries. If you speak a foreign language, then you have more options. These tend to be expensive options, but if you really believe the degree will help you, then at least you don't have to move to get into a program. So here are my recommendations. First, ask yourself why you want the LLM degree. Second, ask if there's another way you can accomplish your goals. Third, examine each program carefully before you make your decision. Before we wrap up today, let me share my pet peeve concerning the abbreviation for LLM. The degree is Legum Magister and is abbreviated LL.M. The reason for the double L is that in Latin, when you have a plural abbreviation, you double that letter. Because legum is the genitive plural of lex, we use the double L instead of a single L. Now, one way you can avoid this problem is to remove all punctuation marks from your degree. So J.D. becomes JD, LL.M. becomes LLM. If you have more questions on LLM programs, place them in the comments section below. New videos every other Wednesday, so hit the subscribe and bell button so you can become a better lawyer and a better student.